2, 1, you're live.
Welcome into Last Call here on a Saturday at WagerTalk. I'm the prop queen, Ariel Epstein, filling in all summer long for my best friend, Kelly in Vegas, who was just like berating us in the chat that we were running late. I had this weird glare going into the prop queen sign. I couldn't figure it out, and trial and error, I figured it out. I had to move my lights around. I don't know what the hell happened. But happy Saturday, everybody. Let's get this thing going. We've got Gianni the Greek coming on the show. I'm super pumped about that. I know that we also are going to have best bets from Dan, and I think, and that's, of course, Premier Lacrosse League, but I think we also are going to have Brian Power on the show. That was a last-minute ad. He's jumping in to save the day because I guess it's a busy weekend. Like, everyone's out doing stuff, but I guess because it's officially summer and 4th of July is next week, we're going to have a show, I think, next week, too. I'm going to ask Kelly about that. But huge day, baseball, UFC, and isn't like Jake Paul fighting tonight too? That's so random. Glad to see the chat up and running. Make sure, of course, that you guys all write in the chat because Gianni the Greek's about to join the show and he'll answer all of your questions. I've got some Major League Baseball as well that I'll give out at the end of the show. And like I said, our producer Dan is going to give out the sharp lacrosse plays of the day. I was up to like 1, 2 in the morning watching this Atlas Archers game last night because we had the under. Dan writes in the chat yesterday. Oh, you saw me on MLB Network yesterday. Yeah, MLB Tonight hits. Dan writes in the chat yesterday after like, I don't know, about 10 minutes into the game that he's like, yeah, we lost the under. So I said, great, I'm going to bed. Screw this. I go to bed. I wake up. We end up hitting the under. But I ended up staying awake because I turned on the finale of 1923. And I don't know if anyone's watched 1923, but I forgot and didn't realize that it was a 2-hour season finale. So I turned it on and realized, oh, crap, I'm about to be up till 2 in the morning watching this. Anyway, oh, Carmine's here. What's up, Carmine? Let's get to our sharp, the Vegas runner. Gianni the Greek, live from Las Vegas. Let's get the sharp side, take you behind the counter. Gianni, big day today in UFC and baseball. It's speaking to you.
Huge day, especially like you said in combat sports. Not only is UFC 317 tonight, which is the final piece of International Fight Week. It was a huge week here for the UFC. Ton of events throughout the week. Yesterday, the big fan expo, it was gigantic. I mean, it gets bigger and bigger every single year. I spent the day there yesterday. It was just amazing. And that, all goes off tonight with UFC 317. There's also a Cage Warriors going on, smaller promotion over there in England. But I have 2 bets there I'd already fired on. There's also, like you said, the Jake Paul fight tonight against Chavez Jr. And a lot of baseball as well. So
Yanni, for somebody like you who is so sharp with UFC, then you get all these new like recreational fights like a Jake Paul who's an influencer and fighting. How do you approach those?
Honestly, I think I may have bet maybe 2 Jake Paul fights this entire time. One was betting on him against Tyson just because of the narrative. I mean, the narrative was, Tyson's going to be his toughest challenge to date, and nothing could be further from the truth. Anyone that had seen Mike Tyson over the last couple of years realizes he's, 60 plus years old, and they just kept showing the same 8-second video clip of him hitting a speed bag. And everybody was saying, look how fast he is. Look how hard he's hitting still. He could still do it. It's the reincarnation of Mike Tyson. You just can't bring back Father Time. And you got to ask yourself, why do you keep showing the same 8-second clip? And there's not longer clips of him training. So, it seemed obvious that Jake Paul was the side there. And I think I bet him in another fight as well. But those usually, Ariel, they're mostly, like you said, more for entertainment, more for the recreational bettors to throw some small money down. It's not a fight that, really attracts any real sharp action. No serious bettors are really getting involved because it's really just one-sided. I mean, he gets to handpick his opponents more or less. This is another name that really isn't a challenge for him other than having the name Cesar Chavez. He's done nothing in combat sports over the last, decade. So it's just another name for him to put on his resume to say he beat up an ex-world champion, an ex-professional athlete, someone with a big name like Chavez Jr. And that's all it is. But it's, again, it's more entertainment than anything else. I don't think there's any value on the dog here. I think it's Jake Paul or pass. As long as he's the promotion and he controls everything and they're handpicking these opponents, it's just one-sided action, Jake Paul or pass. I mean, I'm sure there's bettors out there that are trying to sprinkle a little something on the dog, hoping to see him lose. But like I said, until the level of competition improves, he's just going to keep, chalking in wins. So there's not really much to take advantage of.
Let's get to the UFC then, where I know you probably have some action, but there's been a lot of drama in the UFC in the last few weeks with Jon Jones, especially, and his retirement. How much does that affect your handicap of the UFC with all these distractions?
It's no big deal. I mean, that's all noise. It's all noise. That's all it is. I mean, it doesn't affect individual fights. It's more about the drama, and it's great for content. It's great for, the MMA influencers to cover and talk about, but it really doesn't affect fight by fight, bet by bet. At least for me, it doesn't. I mean, I wish I would have seen that fight, Aspinall versus Jon Jones. It's a fight we all wanted to see. But, Jon Jones is smart, not a fight he wants to take. It's the biggest risk out there for him. He doesn't need Aspinall for his legacy. People are going to forget all about this within a couple of months, and he's still going to go down as the best mixed martial artist of all time. So from a business standpoint, he's doing the right thing. If he has enough money, there's no reason to risk his legacy against Aspinall, who I think would have beat him. I actually made Aspinall at least a -150 favorite over Jon Jones. So it's the one time in my life that I would have faded Jon Jones. I never bet against him, but against Tom Aspinall at 150 or better, I'd be on the Tom Aspinall side. But as far as tonight's UFC goes, the negative is that you have some chalky favorites in the main event and the co-main event. And what happens is that bettors try to get creative when this happens. Like they want to bet Ilia Topuria tonight. You could tell they're just chomping at the bits to bet Topuria over Oliveira. The problem that they're having is, how are we going to bet Topuria and not have to lay -400? It was when we taped UFC on the Line earlier this week, he was -500. So the line has come down a little bit, but it's still really high. And it forces bettors to have to try to get creative, to try to determine how he's going to win, when he's going to win. And when you get to that, having to do it that way, it just makes it harder than it needs to be. I always tell bettors that. Like, the more levels you have to add to it, the harder it is to actually place a good bet. Because again, if there's value on Topuria, you should be betting Topuria. You shouldn't have to figure out Topuria inside the distance, Topuria by knockout, Topuria in the second round. Like, that's trying to play psychic. And anytime you do that, you're just not betting from any position of strength. Personally, Topuria should win this fight. -400s usually do. But I just don't think there's any value there. It's the first time he's fighting in this weight class. It's a huge step up in competition for him, for sure. Any value's got to be on Oliveira or pass. Again, I haven't released Oliveira to subscribers. I'll probably sprinkle a little something on Oliveira depending on how the night goes. I just don't see any value in betting Topuria at all. Again, if you want to get creative and bet him inside the distance, it's probably how he's going to win this fight. But I just don't think there's any value in it as far as line value goes. I just think you're just trying to predict the outcome of the fight and not caring what the line is. Because again, to conclude there's value in Topuria, you got to draw the conclusion that he wins this fight close to 9 out of 10 times. And there's just no planet in the world that Oliveira should lose to him 9 out of 10 times. It's not like it's a 40-year-old Oliveira. The last 2 losses for Oliveira are to like Makhachev. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's lost to the best guys. Since 2017, I think the guy's got 2 losses on his record. So you're not going to get rich fading Oliveira, especially as a dog. But again, all the Topuria fans out there, go out there, bet him. He's probably going to win for you. Real quickly, in the co-main event, another favorite that everybody thinks the same is automatic in Alexander Pantoja. He just keeps winning, cleaning out the flyweight division, beating the likes of, Brandon Moreno, Royval. He's beating them all at flyweight. And everybody just thinks it's automatic, but slow down. He's now, 35, 36 years old at flyweight? That's rare. Usually, it's hard for them to cut weight as they get older and older, and to cut down to 125 is not easy for Pantoja. And, just historically in the UFC, how many guys really do go on 9-10 fight win streaks? It's just that the tougher the competition gets, the harder it is to win. Just too many ways to lose in MMA. I think there's a lot of value on Kai Kara-France in the co-main event. I think he's as live as a dog as you're going to get at close to 2-1. He's definitely going to fight for your money. He's a tough takedown, and that's the problem I think Pantoja is going to have. If Pantoja cannot take him down, if Pantoja is not able to implement his grappling, able to take his back, able to create those kind of scrambles and problems for Kara-France, Kara-France is going to piece him up on the feet. I mean, he lands almost double the significant strikes per minute. He definitely has more power. So I like the Kara-France side. I think there's a lot of value at close to 2-1 dog. I think it's closer to 60-40. Maybe Pantoja should be maybe a minus 150 favorite. But where he sits now, about minus 250, I think that's just way too high. So there's a pick for you that I actually released to subscribers. Kai Kara-France, co-main event, plus 200. I think that's the right side.
Gianni, we have some questions in the chat. Jack Falk said, Topuria money line, Topuria most strikes boosted to plus 100 feels like a trap. Anyone have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the thing is, it's tough again, Topuria has 0 losses. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get rich fading Topuria. But you're now in uncharted territory. He's moving up to a new weight class. He's moving up in weight. He's fighting a guy that definitely has more experience than him. Topuria is not going to throw anything at Oliveira that Oliveira hasn't seen already. It's not like this is the first guy with power Oliveira's had to face. In fact, prior to the last 5+ years, Oliveira was just a grappler. His jiu-jitsu is what won him all his fights. So if anything, it was guys that were strikers, guys with power were supposed to be his kryptonite anyway. And yet he managed to overcome that. So again, I obviously a minus 400 on paper is going to look like the right side. So it's hard to argue not to bet Ilia Topuria. But like I said, I think they're charging you too high a premium to back him. And it's expected. Listen, the guy's he's won like 8-0 in the UFC, 5 straight performance bonuses. He just comes off knocking out Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway in back-to-back fights. Like, again, when you're doing that, the sportsbook's not going to allow much risk on you. So what they're going to do is they're going to charge bettors to back you. And that's what they're doing here. They're inviting the Charles money because they don't want a ton of risk on Topuria. Why? Because Topuria's cost them over and over and over and over again. And it seems to be another one-sided fight. As far as traps, again, I don't think they're trapping you as far as the line goes. It just going to charge you to back Topuria because that's who everybody is betting. So I do like the Topuria side as far as winning the fight, but I don't think it's a good bet. Like if I'm never going to bet again and I'm only going to place one bet and this is the fight I have to bet, I'm going to bet Topuria, obviously. I think he should win this fight. But if I'm going to bet again tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and the objective is to place good bets, I just don't think Topuria is a good bet. I think he should be maybe a minus 220 where he wins this fight maybe 2 out of 3 times, maybe 70% of the time. But when you're getting up to that 80, 90% probability in MMA, it has to be extremely one-sided. You got to remember, bottom line is this. Just look at the comparative lines. You're looking at a number right now where Charles Oliveira is a bigger underdog against Topuria than he was against Islam Makhachev. Do you understand that? He's a bigger dog against Ilia Topuria than against Islam Makhachev, who Makhachev is, arguably number 1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. He's the GOAT right now. And he was a smaller dog. Come on, it just doesn't make sense. So again, I know people are going to say I was wrong when Topuria goes out there and wins. They're going to say, well, I cashed my bet, but I just don't think it's a good bet at all. I think the value side is Oliveira or pass.
Gianni, we've got a huge Major League Baseball card. I know the chat is waiting for you to talk some MLB. Jonathan asks, any sharp coming in for MLB?
Yeah, a little early, but here's what I can tell you right now. Yesterday, multiple betting groups bet 2 teams to win this 3-game series. Okay, before the series starts, they're always betting a couple of these teams to win the series. They bet 2 yesterday. They bet Atlanta minus 160 to win their series over Philadelphia, and they bet Kansas City plus 175 to win their series as well. Both of those teams lost game one of the series yesterday. So for the Sharps to win either of these bets, they got to win the next two games. Atlanta's got to win today and tomorrow. Kansas City's got to win today and tomorrow. Just throwing that out there. Not saying what's going to happen, just letting you know. Multiple groups bet the exact same series. They bet Atlanta to beat the Phillies, and they bet Kansas City as well in their series. So those are two series bets to keep your eye out. For today, here's what they bet so far. Again, it's a little early, 8 a.m. out here on the West Coast. Forgive me. Three signs for you. 963 Minnesota, plus 125. 968 Texas, down to plus 115. 977 the Cubs at plus 105. So slight dogs, Minnesota, Texas, and the Cubs, three small dogs. Two unders for you. 973 San Francisco and the White Sox, under 8.5 and under 8. So after going under 8.5 to 130, they went under 8 as well, up to minus 115. So strong move on the under. And then also Seattle, Texas, 967 under 8, up to minus 130. Didn't go under 7.5, just went under 8 there. Unlike the White Sox game where they went under an 8.5 and under the 8 as well. So under White Sox, under Texas, and then Minnesota, Texas, and the Cubs. Just a couple early Major League Baseball plays for you guys. Again, make sure you follow those lines. A lot of manipulation going on early, especially now as we await football and all the attention is on Major League Baseball day in and day out. We have a little distraction today with MMA, and there'll be NASCAR mixed in or golf here or there, that kind of stuff. But mostly it's baseball day in and day out.
We've also got WNBA action throughout the summer, Yanni. Anything in the W?
Let me look, because WNBA has been money, and we've been crushing.
Especially
WNBA.
the props.
That's all I should be giving out at WagerTalk. I don't think we've been low. Like the WNBA has just been money. I think we only got the only way I can play this one is I'd go under. If I had to bet at Washington, Dallas, I see a couple sharp bets on the under in the Washington Dallas game, about 165, 64.5. That's the only thing that sticks out in WNBA. The only thing that I see a little bit on the under, and I did see some Washington at minus 2.5, but I think that's 3 now everywhere. So a little Washington and under WNBA action.
I'm going to throw you one more curveball. Has anyone attacked Wimbledon yet?
Nothing yet in Wimbledon. I wish. Those are gold.
It's coming up. It's like
anytime you see
tomorrow?
tennis.
Monday?
Tennis or
Monday,
golf.
I think?
Tennis or golf is where the money's at. Anytime you see tennis, golf, soccer,
especially
in
in these early rounds of
Central
Wimbledon,
American country, you just unload. Anytime you see that, like a Peruvian second level freaking soccer matchup, because the only reason anyone's betting that is because they got good information.
I'm pretty sure Odds Logic is going to be helping us out with that, so we can see how all these lines move. But I think Wimbledon starts in the next few days. I have to see.
Leading up to this week, next week, I mean.
Yeah, I think Monday. Yeah, Monday morning, 5 a.m. is the first matches. So Djokovic actually plays Monday at 5 a.m. minus 7,000, of course. Sinner. But like that's the thing. It's gonna. I was curious if there was any kind of futures that anyone ever comes in on, but I'm sure that'll be last minute.
Yeah, it's not winning the Wimbledon. It'll be first round bets. First round is the tennis. Second round maybe. But as the tournament progresses, less and less and less. All the action on those tournaments, just like in golf, always pre-tournament and always happening in like the first 2 rounds. And then as it goes on, it's like less and less and less and less, which makes sense because it's less matchups that they have to put out a line on, the less probability that there's going to be an inefficient line. But when they got to throw out, 100 matchups, there's a higher likelihood that they're going to make some mistakes. So that's the problem as you get less and less matchups in tournaments.
What are you promoting today, Yanni?
Oh, there's the UFC cards over at WagerTalk.com. Already got 4 or 5 bets in there and still going to be handicapping a card. Like I said, I was over at UFC Expo yesterday. It's awesome. You get so much great information talking to so many people that are over there. Trainers, fighters, analysts, covering the sport, getting everybody's opinion, finding out some information, who's not 100% healthy, that kind of stuff that they don't put out there on social media. It's always good to be at those events at Network. So I got a great package up at WagerTalk.com. Make sure you head on over. There's a 5% in there. You know how I've done on those 5%. I'm coming off of losing 5% last week. Tell you when I win, tell you when I lose. I'm about 70% on those in 2025. Number one in profit on 5%. So I'm very selective with those, but absolutely love this 5%. In fact, yesterday I was having dinner at Red Rock. Swear to God, on my life. We're at Red Rock. We have dinner. I brought a little bit of money, not a lot of money, in case I played blackjack, $25 table spreading, 25 to 250. So you need about 100 units with you. For a $25 table, you need about $2,500. I might have had like 3,500 with me, close to 4 dimes. But dinner cost like a nickel each. So I had less than 4 dimes on me. So I'm like, I don't know. I was late. I didn't want to play blackjack. But I remembered my UFC 5%. And I said, let me see what the line is here at Red Rock. I swear to you, I looked at the line. It was shorter than anywhere else. And all the cash that I had in my girl's wallet, which was like I said, a little over 3 dimes, I bet it 3,000 all on that fighter. So I felt that good about this 5% tonight, that any cash in my pocket last night after dinner, I just dumped it at the window and said, I already bet them, but I just felt that confident after leaving that expo. So hopefully we have a good night tonight in the UFC, because I got a lot of money on this 5%.
Everyone go follow up with Gianni, because
Share
you know
that
that
one
when
in.
he's that confident, it's a good sign. Gianni the Greek, thanks as always for hopping on today. Good luck later.
Thank you.
Coming up now, we've got some more UFC action, and we're going to bring on our own from WagerTalk, Kyle Anthony, to talk about UFC tonight. What's going on, Kyle?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. Gianni's excited. I'm excited too, but he's definitely more excited, I think, than I am. But I got 5% plays. I got all kinds of things going on. 2 title fights. It's a great night to be a UFC bettor tonight.
What are you willing to give us today? Show us some action.
All right. So the first one here we're going to go over is the main event of the evening, and that's going to be Ilia Topuria between Charles Oliveira. Now, you've got that line. I think it's sitting around minus 420, somewhere around there, and you've got Charles at plus 320, roughly about. And this is a spot here where you got Charles Oliveira. He's a known name, obviously, a legend, UFC Hall of Famer, most submissions in UFC history, former champion. I mean, a lot of accolades that this guy does have here. And we always talk about styles. Obviously, we're going to dive into that too. Styles make fights, but so does timing of those fights. If this fight took place maybe 2 years ago, it's going to be totally different. Obviously, Topuria is in a different weight class, but things are different. Now you've got a guy in Oliveira who's 35 years old, there's a 7-year age gap between these two. You've got Topuria, who is now really in his prime, entering his prime. And, this is a spot also where he's coming off just, knocking out legends. He's knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, knocked out Max Holloway. These are elite level guys, also future Hall of Famers as well, former champions, all of those things. And the thing that I didn't like about Charles Oliveira is the fact that, his most recent fight that he had against Michael Chandler. And this is a fight where, Oliveira should really put a stamp on this guy and really get the finish, dominate. And it wasn't really that at all. And there was a fight I was actually at. And, Michael Chandler at this point is more of like a gym trainer than he is like a fighter at this point. And he's exciting. He wants to do explosive things, but he doesn't really fight to any type of game plan. Even with that, you had Charles Oliveira outlanded him 88 to 84, still very close on significant strikes. What he really needed was the takedowns. He needed 5 takedowns. He needed 15 minutes of control time. And that's not going to work against someone like Topuria. Topuria, yes, he's coming up in weight, but I don't really put too much into that. Obviously that's going to be very hard to quantify what that's going to mean to him here, but he's an elite level fighter and he's had time to kind of gain weight at that point. But this is the spot where, you even had Charles where he was, getting rocked in the 5th round. There was a point where Charles almost got finished in the 5th round against Michael Chandler. Terrible, terrible look. And I think one of the biggest things here is the liability for Charles is really going to be his chin and the style at which he fights. And that's, I think, a terrible recipe for him in this fight here, where Charles has a very suspect chin. Even when he wins fights, he's rocked, wobbled, knocked down, has to fight through adversity, and he's been hit pretty clean, and that's a very big issue. But also the fact that style he fights, he's a shoot-to-box guy. He's a guy who's going to come forward, who's going to be aggressive, who's going to throw a lot of combinations at you. He doesn't really care if he's taken down because he has elite-level jiu-jitsu. So there are all of those things that he has. But it's the issue being he's fighting Topuria, who also likes to come forward, who also wants to throw heavy. And that's really where I think the car crash kind of happens here. I don't see Topuria diving at legs, looking for takedowns. I don't really see Oliveira finding a ton of success getting takedowns, because Topuria is a very, very well-rounded guy. I don't believe it's going to be some kind of, he can lay on him and keep top control. So I think that's really where Topuria finds success. They're going to march forward, both of them. They're both going to be throwing big shots. I don't see that, really good striking defense at all from Oliveira. He's very lackluster striking defense, can be hit in the pocket. And Topuria doesn't need like a barrage of shots in order to get the finish. He could just move forward, land one clean one, and we've seen Charles drop. I think that's where this goes here. I think the knockout is coming. He's the better striker, better footwork, bigger combinations, works the body really well to open up the headshots. And that's where I'm going with this here. I think Topuria gets the knockout inside the first 3 rounds. That's sitting around minus 115. I think it's a pretty strong number here when you're looking at really the probability of this. I don't think this goes to the scorecards. I don't see Topuria submitting Oliveira here, and I think he stays clear of any kind of grappling as much as he can. And I think he wants another spectacular knockout here for his legacy. So Topuria inside the first 2 rounds by knockout feels like a very good spot.
Then you're also looking at Kara France going up against Pantoja. What do you like?
So in that one here, you've got Pantoja. He is minus 265. On the comeback here, you've got Kara France. He's around plus 200. And this is a spot here where Pantoja has been a guy that I've been backing. He has 7 straight victories, 4 straight title fights. This will be his 4th straight title fight. And we've been backing him. We've been parlaying him. We've been method of victory. We've been finding ways to really just make money on him. And now I'm jumping off the train here. I think I get it. I keep saying Topuria. Pantoja has solid wrestling. He's going to crash the pocket. He's going to move forward. He's going to, wing shots. And that's really worked out well for him, where he's been able to find those opportunities and get those takedowns. But this is another issue here where you've got a 35-year-old flyweight. And we definitely know that skills decline, especially at these lower weight classes. It's hard to cut the weight, and that's a big thing. Even that's really why we saw Islam Makhachev recently move up, where he's a champion, but there's a point where you're not helping yourself. You're not being a size bully at that point. You're hurting your cardio. You're hurting your durability. There's a lot of things that you're hurting if you're really cramming yourself down. And that's, I still think at 35, it just becomes more difficult. It's just how it works. And you also look at it that Pantoja is a guy that has had some suspect cardio. There's been moments where he's really pushed through, and credit to him. He's pushed through tough spots. He's been able to get the takedowns. He's been able to work through some of those things. But really where I think this fight is going to be won or lost for Pantoja is going to be if he can get those takedowns. And I think Kara France has a fantastic stylistic advantage here, where he's got great defensive wrestling, good takedown defense. He's got an 88% takedown defense rate. I think he can sprawl and brawl here. I think that he is able to keep this fight standing when he can. The other part is that he's got great scrambles. So even when he's taken down, he's been able to get back to his feet. He's been able to create the space and get back to his striking. And even some of the wrestlers that he has faced, he has really done very well against, as in the takedown defense part of it. I mean, Askar Askarov is a solid wrestler, was 2 for 14 on takedowns. Amir Albazi was 1 for 9 on takedowns. And even Brandon Moreno was 0 for 3. So I think that there are opportunities here where Kara France can keep this fight standing. And when Pantoja does get tired, I think he's not going to find the success on the takedowns, which is going to allow this fight to play out on the feet. And Pantoja on the feet, as much as he is, and as fantastic as a fighter as he is, as the fight goes on, he can get very sloppy. He can start winging shots. He'll just desperately dive and crash the pocket. If he does not get those takedowns, Kara France has better striking, the harder hitter between these two, better accuracy. And I think the openings are going to be there because we've seen Pantoja can be very hittable. So I think at this number here, I think this is wide. I think Pantoja is a deserving favorite, but I think this is definitely too wide when you're talking about, nearing 3-1. So I like Kara France here, plus 200. I think he becomes a new champion.
Kyle Anthony, everyone in the chat, absolutely loving this. They said that you give out great info and that they love your giveaways and you always help them cash tickets. What are you promoting today?
So today I have a 5% play up right now. And we're roughly about, over the last 14, 15 months, about 70% win rate. But this particular angle at 83%, feeling great about it. Love the spot. Even as the week's gone on, I have felt even better about it. I have 4 plays up right now. Probably going to add 1 or 2 before we get to the start of the card. But locked in for it. And I think my discount is KO 15 off, I believe. KO 15 off, you get $15 off my 5% play for tonight. Ready to cash. Definitely pay-per-views have been really good to us. Even though we've had some rocky moments this year, definitely the pay-per-view has been really good to us. So ready to cash it in again, and let's get it done.
That's why we got Dan. He tells you right there. You are correct. KO 15 off, $15 off, 5% pack. WT.buzz/KA. And that is Kyle Anthony giving us the UFC winners. Thank you so much. Good luck tonight.
Thanks.
Coming up now, if you have Major League Baseball questions for today, write it in the chat because we are about to address all of them. We are also going to talk some soccer. We've got 2 different soccer tournaments going on today. So let's bring on, for the first time that I've been filling in on Last Call, it is Mr. Brian Power. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ariel. Pleasure to be here. Absolutely. A lot going on today.
I finally get to talk to you. I feel like everyone I know knows you, and we never really talk.
Oh, wow. I guess this will be a banner line on your Wikipedia page, I guess, finally getting to talk to me. But yeah, I know. It's crazy. We do have a lot of common friends. And yeah, this is the first time you and I have ever been on air together. So hopefully I make it count and don't screw it up. But like I said,
you will not. And I love Major League Baseball. I love Major League Baseball, but I need soccer winners because I know what's going on. I don't really follow it. I actually get very confused because there are now 2 huge tournaments going on because you've got the Gold Cup, you have the FIFA Club World Cup, and then you have the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Let's start with FIFA because I know that there is a match that you're looking at today. What is it?
Yeah, talked about this on the Power 5 earlier today. People can check that out elsewhere here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. I like Chelsea against Benfica here. Chelsea, I think, is a team that can make a run and possibly even win this whole competition. This is one of only 2 all-European matchups in the round of 16. Obviously, the big story in the FIFA Club World Cup, for those who have been paying attention, know all 4 Brazilian sides progressed to the round of 16. We, of course, have an all-Brazil matchup in the first game today. I know Benfica beat Bayern Munich to win Group C, but Bayern rotated the starting 11 for that match. They just didn't want to deal with the heat. It was very, very hot. Obviously, that heat wave that hit the Midwest and the East this week. Bayern just didn't want to deal with it. They were already in the round of 16. Benfica were not impressive at all. Their first 2 matches against Auckland City, who had no business being in this tournament, and then Boca Juniors. Getting Chelsea at plus money to win here on the 3-way line, I think, is just a really great value. They've won 11 of their last 15 matches against Portuguese opposition, 23 goals scored. If you want to get real frisky here and not just bet Chelsea, I would go Pedro Neto to score or have an assist at plus 170. But I think, the sounder bet would be Chelsea on the 3-way line just to win.
I love any kind of props that I can get. AOD, who I love, he always is tuning into shows. He asked if you think Inter Miami's going to get waxed.
Probably, yeah. There's not a lot of value, though. Unfortunately, that's the one match of the weekend in the FIFA Club World Cup that I don't see a lot of value. I think you'd have to get creative. I don't even have the odds here. I mean, that's something you'd have to bet PSG win to 0, PSG halftime, full time, something like that. I mean, if you think they're going to get waxed, you might as well go for something like that. Obviously, the way they're priced, the odds makers are telling you what you think. Inter Miami, obviously they have Messi, so they get a lot of attraction, but they were the weakest winner of the weakest group in the group stage here.
Justin Reynolds, I'd rather go to church than bet soccer. Hey, listen, don't yuck someone's yum.
Yeah.
You can't yuck someone's yum. That's not nice. I'd rather go to church, and I'm not even Christian, but I'd rather go to church than eat peanut butter. And I'm sure that would piss a lot of you off. So you know what? That's my apparently biggest flaw. Any Ice Cube Big 3 picks, it stings cube.
No, not the Ice Cube. No, I'm not. Look, the big 3 for Ice Cube, it's very simple. America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, and The Predator. That's the only big 3 I recognize for Ice Cube, okay? After that, it kind of went – Lethal Injection was okay, but it went downhill after that.
Okay, let's go to the Gold Cup. Mexico, Saudi Arabia, what you got?
I would go under 2.5 here. A little juicy. I know that's not going to, make the people in the comment section go crazy, but here's the deal. After the 3-2 win over the Dominican Republic to begin the tournament, Mexico has not conceded in either of its last 2 matches. And then Saudi Arabia, it's no secret what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to frustrate Mexico. But they're a good defensive side. You go back to even before this competition got underway, they've conceded only 4 goals their last 8 matches overall. And all 3 of their matches here in the Gold Cup in the group stage stayed under 2.5. I would like that trend to continue tonight. That is on FS1.
I know that
late night.
I know that you don't. Yes, Sean, I'll give you a K prop at the end of the show. I know that you probably don't have a play in this because the USA does suck. However, they are playing Costa Rica at 7 p.m. Sunday. What do you have to say about Team USA?
So here's the deal with the Gold Cup quarterfinals. I think all four of them, from a side perspective, are priced dead on. The U.S., look, they obviously did not have a lot of fanfare coming to this tournament. They are one of two teams that took max points in the group stage. Now, they took on Haiti, Trinidad, Tobago, and Saudi Arabia, so it wasn't exactly a difficult group. If you're sitting around on a Sunday and you really want to bet the American side, again, kind of like I talked about that PSG Inter Miami, I guess you would get creative. It's plus money. USA halftime, full time. That means they have to be winning at half and obviously win the match. Or USA win to nil, also plus money. I think the time to fade the Americans would be if they take on Canada as expected in the semis. But Costa Rica, they've got some key absences, injuries, suspension. So I don't think the U.S. loses tomorrow night, bottom line.
Okay. So at least they'll keep us like dangling on the thread until they lose. Anyone have MLB? Because if you don't, then I'm just going to ask my own questions. But Brian Power, do you have anything that you really like in Major League Baseball?
There are a lot of interesting division matchups on the board, Ariel, I think from a price perspective. I know I was very pleased to hear what Gianni had to say in terms of what the Sharps were betting earlier in the program. I know a lot of people in our comments section seem to be gravitating towards the Tigers.
I've seen the line move against them since last night.
Yes. Yeah. But so like I looked at as soon as the Twins won 4-1 last night, I thought that price was a little short. It was interesting last night. I talked about it on the Power 5. Twins obviously win 4-1. The Tigers took early money, but it's come back, like Gianni said. And I agree with that action on the Twins, believe it or not, today. I know it's going to be so tempting. The thought process is going to be, oh, the Tigers can't lose 2 straight to the Twins. Bailey Ober, look, anything can happen, okay? This is Major League Baseball. And I saw somebody in a comment section also point out Bailey Ober has good numbers in his career against the Tigers. 3 quality starts last year against them. And I know he's had an issue with the home run ball. This entire matchup, Ariel, hinges on Bailey Ober keeping the ball in the park because it's been a problem for him. It was a disaster in the last start against Seattle. But if he can keep the ball in the park, I think the Twins absolutely could steal another one. This is a Twins team that had been underperforming for a while. The Tigers have been overperforming all year. I know it's been too long since I've blown the minds of the comments section with my wacky power ratings and things that just make the people go crazy. But I only have the Tigers power rated 7th or 8th in all of baseball, despite their 1-loss record. I kind of think there's value fading the Tigers for a while now. So
no surprise. Oh, sorry. Continue.
Go ahead. No, that's it.
Oh, well, actually, I was going to get something else, but Mac Hudson asked, any thoughts on the Cubs revenge spot?
So, wow, I was surprised the Astros scored as many runs as they did last night. Obviously, they were coming off a series against the Phillies where there were just 6 runs total scored in 3 games. They scored 7 themselves early. They had 2 big innings. I would lean towards the Cubs or the Cubs team total over in this game. I don't know what your thoughts are, but when a pitcher is making his return off the IL, it is either fade or pass, and you've got Lance McCullers starting for Houston here. Lance McCullers is someone we were betting on. If you've been following along with me, we bet McCullers a few times because he had that obviously disaster start, and there was all that stuff making the news, but he really settled down and started pitching well. But now he's coming off the IL. The Cubs are the 2nd highest scoring road team in all of baseball, trailing only Milwaukee of all teams. That is quite the shocker there when I look at this. But on the Power 5, I said maybe just take the game over if you're not as confident in the Cubs getting there. But if the game gets over, the Cubs are probably going to go over their team total, is my thought.
Well, that helps answer the question for Mike Scott if there's an over you like. But I guess, is there a full game over that you like?
A full game over that I like? Not particularly. A full game over.
Do you agree with Nick NYC Yankee game over 9?
Look, I have a reputation of jumping in front of a train, but I'm not getting in front of this Yankees understreak right now. 15 straight. I mean, look at the total. It's 9.5. Mark Zinno and I on the Morning Wager always joke how the Yankees are this feast or famine lineup. either they score a ton of runs or they didn't score anything at all. It's been mostly famine of late. I just cannot trust their offense. 9.5. I mean, at 9, I don't know. Maybe I would have put a little bit on it, but I don't want to bet a Yankees game right now to go over 9.5. Colorado, no. I actually think the complete opposite. If you want to talk about overs, I would, if you can stomach it. I know betting your hard-earned money on Antonio and on a game involving Antonio Senzatella to stay under doesn't seem very fun. Doesn't sound like a great way to spend an afternoon. But the Rockies don't score a lot of runs, Ariel, as you know. And Milwaukee, I mentioned they're the highest scoring road team in all of baseball. Well, this game's at American Family Field in Milwaukee, where they score 2 fewer runs per game than they do on the road. I would actually look at the under in that game if you're looking to play it.
How would you play the Rays-O's game after the Rays got absolutely whooped after having a lead, blew it, lose by 22-8, I think the final score was?
Yes.
And actually, it was kind of funny. Someone said that was in honor of Wander Franco's girlfriend, but
Hey-o!
that was kind of funny tweet. But anyway, how would you play the bounce back for, if any, is there a bounce back for the Rays?
Okay, so you look at this and you say, all right, they gave up 22 runs. There's going to be a bounce back. Our best bet on the morning wager yesterday, Zeno and I, was the Orioles at plus 110. And so that looked really smart in retrospect after that result came in. I thought the Rays were pretty much at the peak of their market going into yesterday's game. The Rays are a very interesting team. I've talked about this now for the last several weeks on all the shows, Ariel, that this is a team that, obviously they began the concept of the opener a couple of years ago. They've, due to their, inability to spend a lot of money, they sort of piecemeal rotations together year to year. I believe they have gotten the most starts out of their normal 5 guys of any team in baseball this year. And they're doing well. And it's interesting because I don't like 4 of the 5 guys in this rotation. Other than Rasmussen, I don't like Littell, who's going to, I don't like Baz. I don't like Bradley, and who else? Pepio, who went yesterday. So I'm actually not in a rush to bet Tampa. Baltimore is a team was probably the biggest disappointment of the first half of the season, but there may be some value in now taking. It was a stay away game for me. I know people hate when I'm saying I'm staying away, but the fact of the matter is I'm not betting that game today.
Hey, sometimes the best bets in the world are the ones that you stay away from. Brian Power, what are you promoting today?
Yeah, so it's been great. If you've been following along here, not going to sugarcoat that. Number 1 last 30 days overall.
Look
Number
at that
2 in net
picture.
profit. I'll tell you what, I'm not a bad looking guy right there. The lady who took the picture even combed my hair for me. That was nice. But I'm sure Kelly in Vegas was very happy that day. Anyway, we're up 68.95 units since May 24th. That's pretty good, I think, in my opinion. So we obviously ended the NBA season on a tremendous run. 12-1. We ended, of course, culminating with that 5% win on Oklahoma City. But that's in the past. The NBA is obviously now over. Major League Baseball, we had a 4% best bet with the Pirates last night. I took the 1.5. I jumped on that early and got it at a pretty decent price, Ariel, at minus 121. Turns out we didn't even need the 1.5. They won 9-1. It really felt good to get one over on David Peterson finally. And Mitch Keller, a very deserved win there. So that was good for today. Guys, you got to hurry. If you're watching this live, I have an early soccer play, an early MLB pay, 2 for $1, $29. But as you see right there on your screen, I should probably talk about what's on the screen, right, Ariel? Rest of the year power package, one price, all plays. I've talked about how good the first half of the year has been. Well, the second half you can get every play. Every sport. We had a great college football season last year, great college basketball season last year. I talked about the NBA as well. The finish, it'll be there. It'll be back before you know it. Season starts in October. So if you want to get everything for the rest of the year, we've got you covered for one low price. WT.buzz/BP.
Brian Power, thank you as always for hopping on. I know it was a last minute edition, but we appreciate you. And I love the energy you brought this Saturday morning. Good luck today.
Awesome. You too, Ariel. Great to meet you.
You guys know that I always like to listen to the chat. If you watch the Prop Queen pod every day, if the chat asks for a guest, I bring on the guest. This is what the chat wants. It's really what Shawn Michael wants. Let's bring him on. Our producer, the man who runs the show, the man who makes us all look good, Mr. Dan Alexander. What's up?
Yeah, I'm I'm pretty sure Sean and I got married the other week, right? But I'm pretty sure Sean and I might be married. Like Sean is my chat work wife. You know what I
Did you hear
mean?
about on the Prop Queen pod when he
I know.
said, like, he was going at Kelly, like, hello, we need more Dan.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm here. I'm usually the one that's running the show, so I am always here for all of you. I'm always in the comments chopping it up with you. Hopefully, we can get them some winners here, some lacrosse action. I got my Wooddogs, shirt on. Even
My
though
Atlas sweatshirt yesterday, I'm
it's the
obsessed
sickest
with.
gear. Yeah, it's the
I
sickest gear.
literally could have slept in that thing. I want to put it back on, but I got a little makeup on it, so now I have to wash it, and I'm really sad. It was so freaking comfortable.
Yeah, hey, it's literally the sickest gear. I'm not just saying it because I love the
I
league.
agree.
But literally, just I get
I need
compliments all the
more.
time. Like nobody knows what it is. They're like, "What the hell is the Wooddogs?" But they're like, "That's a sick ass crew neck."
Yeah,
So
and my sweatshirt looks pretty sick. So I loved
Instant-
it, and I loved it even more because we had the under last night. I actually saw that from 23.5 to 24.5, and I took the
Yep.
under again on the
Yep.
Archers and Atlas under. That like the last two periods end up or quarter. What is it? Quarter. It's 4. So it's right.
It's 4
It's
quarters. Yeah, 12 minutes running
I'm
clock.
thinking, isn't it women's college lacrosse's periods, or is that wrong?
Yeah, they all call them periods, I guess. But it's quarters, you know what I mean? And
Right,
I'm
'cause
pretty
there's
sure
4.
college women's lacrosse is just two halves or something like that. It always confuses me. Like can we just make all of them
pro
the same?
level always has different rules, and
Yeah.
I covered a lot of college lacrosse. So like Premier Lacrosse, the rules are very
With like
new
the
to
2-pointers. Yeah.
college
all of that
lacrosse
good
is what I covered in North Carolina a ton. But
All right.
let's get to what's going on today in Premier Lacrosse.
Well, first, Ariel, Russell Deck wants to know your thoughts on the Mets. So we'll start there because we said we give the chat what they want, right? There was like 3 people who were like, "Hey, give us lacrosse plays." There's been a shit ton more comments about.
I know,
what
and I have a
like
strikeout prop that I'll give out too. But I like the Mets today. What is it at? The current line. And I haven't even promoted Odds Logic. You can go to oddslogic.com/propqueen.
It's been on the screen all show long too. Yeah, it's been on the screen like all show long. We've been showing your odds logic. This is what it looks like. We all use it. We're not even just being like, "Oh my God, it's a great product." This is what we use to see our line moves. It tells you, like money ticket count, all this stuff.
And you'll see that, this one says that the Mets open -150 and now it's dropped a bit, but I've seen a little bit differently throughout the FanDuel. Yeah, like FanDuel says -142 now, open -150. I still like the Mets today. I don't trust the lefty Bailey Falter, who's on the mound for Pittsburgh. The Pirates also scored the second least runs per game. I had the Pirates yesterday. I gave it on the Prop Queen pod. I said it was the fishy line of the day. It was a horrible spot for the Mets coming off of splitting the series with Atlanta, winning the last 2, had to throw 2 back-to-back games with a ton of bullpen arms, especially the day before. It was on Thursday. They had to throw like 7 innings of relievers because Griffin Canning went down with his Achilles. So I loved the Pirates yesterday. Do I think the Mets bounce back today? Probably, especially against Bailey Falter, who stinks. And also the Pirates can't score runs. That's the way that I would play that Mets game. And I guess I might as well just give out my strikeout prop while we're still talking Major League Baseball.
Do it. Give it to the folks.
So I saw someone in the chat talk about Casey Mize. I actually like the under on his strikeout prop. He's gone under in 3 of 4, and Minnesota has one of the lowest strikeout rates in baseball today. This year, 43 unders and 21 overs if you're a righty facing the Twins. Casey Mize, I know he's at home, but he had 3 against Minnesota already this year, 3 against Kansas City, 4 against Kansas City. Then he had 5 on the road in Tampa. So the numbers just tell you that Casey Mize and plus money has better value to the under. But there's a plus money play. I saw Randy Vasquez, the Padres righty, at +116 to the over against Cincinnati. 3.5 is way too low against the Reds. They average just over 5 strikeouts a game. 8 of the last 10 righties to face the Reds went over 3.5 strikeouts. Vasquez has faced 4 different teams with high K rates. He had at least 5 in 3 of those 4. He had 5 against Colorado, 5 against LA, 5 against Miami, and then only 1 on the road in Sacramento. So I would take the over in plus money for Randy Vasquez today. over 3.5. That's my favorite strikeout prop value play of the day. And I'm going to give my long list of strikeout props. I'm going to write the propqueen.com newsletter after the show. So you can go subscribe, be a premium or basic subscriber, and you can get my long list, because Dan, we know how this works. Whatever sport it is, you always have a long list. And you cut it down because I'm not going to bet the long list. And then you end up losing what you actually bet, and you win everything you left off your actual card. So I've decided, why wouldn't I just create the propqueen.com newsletter? It is a long list of every prop that I like of the day. And you guys get to choose which of my long list you want to bet.
Yeah, it does feel like the bets that I've liked, that I've passed on, I think I'm about 100% on them, right? Those are always the one that hits. And also, Ariel, for what it's worth, with that write-up that you do with the propqueen.com, it also allows people to get a glimpse into, like, here's how I handicap props, because that's one of the big things that I love with what we do with Wager Talk stuff is, yes, we'll sit here and we'll give you picks. You can tail them, you can fade them, you can do whatever you want with them, right? But the more valuable side of this is finding a way to handicap for yourself that works for yourself, and partnering with people who you trust. I think that's one of the biggest things, partnering with guys like Brian Power, like Andy Lang. When you buy these packages too, you're not just getting the picks, because that's
who's betting what and what works for your style. And I did that
exactly.
Bet on it when I got into the media gambling space. I watched Bet on It every freaking time it was on.
Well, and would you rather have just one fish, or would you rather be taught how to fish? Right? It's biblical. It's biblical, Ariel. That's what I'm saying.
That's what we do with you with Premier Lacrosse, Dan.
Yeah.
Kelly and I, when you came to us last year and you said, "Yeah, we're like doing this Premier Lacrosse thing. Kelly's got to get involved. Ariel, you should get involved." We were like, lacrosse, and then Dan started teaching us how to handicap lacrosse. We absolutely love it.
Exactly. It's that's literally what it's all about. That warms my heart, Ariel. So let's teach some of the over 4,200 people who are watching live right now.
Yesterday.
Yeah, well, that was brutal. Entenmann, we've gone over, we've gone under, and we haven't hit him. So I think Entenmann is the only thing that we do with Entenmann's is eat those sweet ass Danishes that are named Entenmann.
Graveyard.
I think that'll be our new thing moving forward. But let's get some dubs here. Sean, just to let you know, offshores do have PLL. So, I'm not going to give any free advertisements out, though. But if you look around, you can find them if you want them. They also are on all the regulated books. But, yeah, Florida, it's a little bit tough to get down on them. So what I do with my lacrosse plays, the ones that I really love, I usually give all my stuff out on Twitter at Newbie Talks. But the ones that I really love, I load in with my man, Andy Lang. He has a whole team of handicappers, so I'm their lacrosse handicapper. So I'm going to give you both of the premium plays that I gave to clients over at wt.buzz/AL, because I know people probably aren't buying Andy's packages solely for lacrosse picks. You get everything you need, but the two that I loaded today and one that I told Andy I would classify as a 5% play for me, I really like this. The California Redwoods taking on the Philadelphia Wooddogs. We're taking the 1.5 with the California Redwoods. Reason being, Philadelphia looks gassed. They got a bye week. Their bye week was week 1, so they had a little bit of extra rust heading into the year, and they don't have another break the rest of the season. There's an all-star game next weekend, so any of the guys who don't get selected to that will get a little bit of a rest. But this team just looks absolutely gassed, as evidenced by Ariel Epstein's Atlas whipping the piss out of them last week. And honestly, people love, trends. People love streaks. How about a streak that's 5-0 straight up and against the spread? And that streak is the fact that Philadelphia has never beaten, and they've never even covered against the California Redwoods. And now you're telling me that they're favorites coming off of a loss? Doesn't make sense to me. Head coach of Philadelphia is a legendary coach in college lacrosse, but since he's come to the PLL, being a favorite hasn't worked out for him. The guy's name is Bill Tierney. After last week's debacle, he's now 1-7 against the number as a favorite. I don't see that changing today. Give me the California Redwoods plus the 1.5. Ariel, I love this play. And the games are in San Diego this weekend. So I'm gonna be boots on ground. After we're done here, I'm driving
Ooh.
on down to San Diego. I'm fighting through the traffic just so that I can sweat these plays out live. So if things
the
start
best
going
way.
awry, and this one's on ESPN, so you might even be able to see me on ESPN, because if things start going awry, Philadelphia goes up like 3 or 4 goals, I might streak onto the field to try and
The best part is in these
Yeah.
places they can hear you.
Yeah, no, they will definitely hear me. I will be heard. That is for sure.
Like,
And
this
one more
guy's
here.
cheering for this, but then he's cheering for that. I don't understand what he's cheering
no.
for. Who's the team?
I will be the one sweating profusely during that game. And then in the secondary matchup of the day, this one a late night special for you. It's the Boston Cannons and the Carolina Chaos. Sweet ass names, by the way.
Yep.
We're looking to go under the 1.5 total 2-point goals. This is on the Green Book. This is on the Blue Book. This is on Caesars. You can find it wherever you want to find it. I just think this is a really good value because the total in this game is 21.5. If you're wondering what are totals like, that's typically a low total for PLL games. And reason being because Blaze Reardon, one of the best goalies in the league, former MVP. He had an awful start last week, which I think he's going to have a little bit of a bounce back one here. So that 21.5 total tells you there's not many scores expected in this game. So that probably means there's not many 2-point goals that are going to be scored. And if you look at these two teams so far this year, throughout 4 weeks, you've only seen 6 total 2-pointers go between these two, 4 for the Cannons, 2 for the Chaos. So it's not teams who typically shoot them with regularity. And this matchup itself typically just doesn't call for 2-point goals. They've met 5 times in those 5 meetings. They've averaged under 1 2-point goal scored. It's 0.8 if you're wondering, you like it for the math nerds. So stats back it up. I think the spot backs it up. I think Blaze Reardon bounces back. So take the under 1.5 total 2-point goals this evening. Boston Cannons versus the Carolina Chaos. That's 2 premium plays for you, Ariel. And I'm proud. Not only did we not lose viewers talking PLL, we gained another 200. So to the 4,400 live, hit that like button, hit subscribe, check out Ariel. We appreciate
That's what happens.
each and
People
every
just
one
want
of
to
you.
win. They just want to win.
Yep, that's it.
PLL produces winners.
Yeah, that's hopefully we get 2 of them. And again, that one on ESPN, check it out. If the California Redwoods go down, you may see a streaker across the field, and then you'll know there's Dan
Everyone has
Alexander.
to tune in.
Yeah,
I forgot to add the links to my tweets. I need to get the links from RJ.
I got you.
So
I got you on the link.
we have to add the
That's
links in so that people know where to watch, because you can watch it on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and you can watch Dan go streaking on the field.
Hey, only if the Redwoods go down. Only if the Redwoods go down. So then this is solely on the home team. It's up to them. Do they want it to happen or not?
I love it. Dan, as always, thanks for being the best handicapper in lacrosse, the best producer here over at WagerTalk. We love you, and we will see you next week. That's for Dan. I'm Ariel Epstein, the prop queen. Thanks for tuning into Last Call. I think we're back next week for 4th of July weekend anyway, because 4th of July is Friday, so we still got action on Saturday. Sean, would you say help out Dan and Ariel? It's not hard to give a thumbs up for them to give us their opinions. Oh, I think that's good. Thumbs up. Yay. Everyone like the show. Subscribe to WagerTalk, Last Call. Subscribe to Prop Queen Sports as well, because, that would be very helpful. Good luck to all your bets today. We'll see you guys soon.